Hey guys, thanks for joining me on this stream. If my voice is a little scratchy and I cough, it's because I'm getting over being sick. So I'm sorry about that. And let's see, how many people do we have? We've got 10 people, so that's enough to get started. Let me make sure my stuff is all set up here. So I need to make sure that, okay, we got that. Got that. That can be tilted down. There's me. Should be nothing on the video window. Cool. All right. Everything's all set up. So I slept in a little bit because I'm trying to get past this illness. It's weird to be sick in the summertime, but when you got kids and uh, they're doing like summer school and people are out doing stuff, I guess that's just something I got to get used to. Today, what we're going to be talking about is tools of the trade, which I've covered in some other videos. So, to start with, well, anytime, good morning, Daniel, back at you. If you guys have questions or you want to talk about a specific tool, just let me know and we'll cover that. I'm going to kind of go through the tools that I use and we'll, check some of them out. Some of them are standard, like everybody's got them, and then some of the tools are a little more specialized and less common, I guess. Like I wouldn't call them secret weapons, but they're more boutique, I guess, tools. So first of all, in your career, you're gonna have to decide if you want to operate as a one-man band or one-woman band, or you want to operate as part of like a post-production team, part of the crew. If you want to be part of the crew, then you're going to have to use Pro Tools as your DAW. That's just, unless you're in some weird market like Russia or um, I think there's a couple European countries where the bigger post houses use Nuendo, but generally it's Pro Tools. Um, at least in the US, India, Canada, Britain, Australia, China, I think. Um, I've only worked on like I think two Chinese movies. Um, so even like some of the African countries are on Pro Tools, but like Pro Tools is just kind of if you're gonna operate on a professional level, it's just the starting point for everything. So get Pro Tools if you don't have it, learn how it works, learn especially keyboard shortcuts, and some of the quirks of how it operates. I usually recommend for people to find a stable version that works with their hardware and their computer and just stay put. Don't get on the upgrade carousel where you're upgrading your operating system. Germany, he says too. So yeah, um, don't don't start upgrading your system as soon as like a new operating system comes out or a new version of Pro Tools. I like to get a system stable and then lock it down, leave it. But Pro Tools is kind of the industry standard. So you'll definitely need that. And then, depending on where you specialize, you'll probably. So, plugins. Everybody asks about plugins and what plugins they should get. um, the probably most important plugin to have is going to be Izotope. Um, Izotope RX Advanced. I think standard you could probably get by with, but advanced has more stuff to it. And I'm on RX10, so I'm again not on just the upgrade carousel where something new shiny comes out and I say, I gotta have it. I'm gonna get it right now. I like things to be stable because I'm doing this for a living. So any downtime or things that come up like glitchy stuff, it just makes it to where I can't work, I can't make money. So Isotope would be kind of the second most important tool to have. Now, people are always looking out for deals and free stuff, freebies. I think I can, yeah, there's nothing, oh, this, let me just change the name of this session so that you guys don't get me in trouble. I'll call this. Sweet. Okay. Share my screen with you. Yeah, that should work. Okay, so, and excuse me if I like sniffle or cough or sound like I've been smoking Camels all day. It's just because I've been sick. So I'm pushing through, and I like streaming, so I'm gonna to do this even if I sound kind of sexy with my low pitched scratchy voice. Free tools are great. One I people have asked in a lot of videos how to do loudness. So I used to use Ulian loudness meter pretty much on every project, and it's free. There is a paid version. They got the button right here to buy Pro. Let me make sure you guys, yeah, you can see this. This will tell you where you're at level wise. Really useful. It's got different presets, I believe. If I remember where it's been a while since I've used this. Default? Yeah. So you've got IATU RBS 1770-4, you got ABU R128, and then on the Pro version, they've got all these Spotify, Spotify Loud, YouTube, Tidal, Deezer, Netflix, HBO, Disney Plus, Amazon, etc. So Julian's great. It's free. It'll at least tell you where your mix is sitting. That's a great free thing to get. Also, just demo stuff. If if there's something you think will solve a problem for you, don't be afraid to demo it. But also don't feel like you need to just buy everything. Carl, thank you for the hoping I feel better message. I feel better, but yeah, you can still hear it. Let me just go through some comments real quick. I work in Nuendo. Good. Cyprix, that's fine. If like use whatever you want. If you like Nuendo, stick with it. For those for those of us who want to work with like other, like a re-recording mixer or other sound editors, it's got to be Pro Tools. Um, Hi Thomas, I'm new here. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so can you let me know so I can give you like a shout out or like identify you? Because I I can't read that. I'm really sorry. I mean, I could probably let me copy and paste it and see. I'm gonna see how to say this. I like to be respectful. Pronunciation. This should be English. Detect language. Oh, I think, is this Taiwanese? It says, let me set this to Taiwanese. Oh man, there's so many options for language, which is great. Lerv. Okay, I will try to remember that, Lerv. Sweet. Okay, awesome. So, what was I talking about? Free stuff. Julian loudness meter. Keep that on your radar if you're just starting out. You don't have to buy Insight or um, anything else. But there's also, I should show you this. Um, the way I monitor a lot of stuff is I just use Avid's Pro Limiter because it'll tell you the integrated level right here. It tends to read a little bit off of what Insight or WLM will read, but it's close enough. It'll tell you the integrated level, the range, and the true peak. So if all you have is the stock Pro Tools stuff, yeah, just use that. That goes for EQs, compressors. I used to use the Fab Filter. I still use Fab Filter every once in a while, but you can see like on my mic channel here, I just use the Avid channel strip. I like the Avid Pro compressor, Pro limiter, all that stuff is great. Even the stock EQ is fine. Like, just don't get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses on stuff. So, tools of the trade, I would say start with the stock plugins, excuse me, on Pro Tools, but get Izotope. Izotope kind of does some stuff that other plugins don't, as far as cleanup. I know there's other tools for cleaning up stuff. There's the Acon tools, which I have, and spectral layers. Spectral layers I've wanted to kind of spend some time digging into. Um, and Cedar has a cleanup suite too, but theirs is like super expensive. So that for cleaning up. And then people get caught up in the software side of things when the number one thing, if you're going to mix or edit, really edit dialogue, sound effects, music, whatever, super important to have a good monitoring setup and a tuned room. That you can't overstate the importance of having monitors that can reproduce a full frequency range that are flat, and then a room that suits the monitors that is also flat, that doesn't have too long of a decay time or too short, and the frequency response to the room is flat. Because it's kind of like if your eyesight's not perfect and you need glasses, if the prescription is off, things are going to be a little bit blurry. It's the same thing with an uncalibrated room or deficient monitors. You're not going to be seeing or hearing everything. And it's not that expensive. Like my monitors, they're just JBL LSR 308s. They're super affordable. They're pretty flat. They don't have the headroom of like really nice monitors like Myers or uh, like the higher end JBLs or some of the more custom ones, but they're close enough where they don't need to have tons of headroom because the sound's not having to travel a long distance. And I've taken the money I've saved with my monitors and spent it on room treatment to get my room flat. Because if you take, like when I bought these, I was mixing full time on a dub stage. And so I actually went to a store in LA, bought these, took them to the dub stage, set them up, and like played stuff through the huge, like 15-inch uh they were, I think, horn loaded drivers behind the screen. I think they were tri-amped. And then I would play stuff through these little JBLs and see like how close is my mix going to be? Because at the time I knew I was going to leave LA and move far away and have to at least get a close translation from my home studio to a dub stage. Because at the time I was like flying back to LA or driving back to LA to do a mix, and then I'd come back home for a couple months. So they were pretty flat and they were cheap. I bought them, and then every room I've had them in, I just make sure I don't just put them on stands and throw some like RLX foam on the walls. Like I build frames. I put 6 inches of insulation in or more in the corner traps. I do a ceiling cloud. I do the back wall is a little more reflective with like more reflective fabric and thinner panels. And I use a tool. I can show you this. Let me open it up, make sure I've got some of this stuff will like auto update and then it won't open. So I don't think I've ever showed you guys this software. I can definitely do a thing on Room EQ Wizard. Let's see. When did I... This was November 5th. Here we go. So after I built this, I called it a shedio because really it's a shed. What I did is I got a calibration microphone. I don't remember which one. One second. Let's see what my calibration mic is. I don't even remember. I can show you guys this. This is a Dayton Audio calibration mic. I think it was like $100 or something. Um, when you listen to the output from it, it's super noisy, but it does come with, let me see if this will focus on it. No, it won't. It comes with a serial number, which is tied to a calibration um, profile that you download from their website. And then you can plug that into Room EQ Wizard when you spike your room and see kind of where stuff is at. So, yeah, so what I did, I built this room and I kind of was in here and I played something and I was like, okay, I kind of can hear what is going on with the room. Let me ballpark it. But this is the average of the room after doing my treatment. And so you can see like you've got, did I not do RT60 for this? Filtered IR, maybe not. Okay, that's right. It didn't do the average. There we go, RT60. So you can see that the decay time is pretty flat. Even, down to like 50, 60 hertz, it's not going to be flat. Like you just can't really trap that low unless you have huge spaces. And this is a small space, so I can't lose like 50% of the room just to have it be flat down to 50 hertz. But to get your RT60 down under a second, down to 60 hertz is pretty good. So you can see, I think most of these, this one, I think this was the LFE channel. And that's why that's higher. Maybe not. These ones are pretty long, actually, 2 seconds. So I'm trying to remember what I did here. Okay, that's averaged. I didn't label the channels, which is not good. I should have done that. These might be, yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are each of the channels. So I'm guessing left. No, these might be the surrounds. But yeah, I definitely should have labeled this stuff. Maybe I labeled them. I moved the desk forward. Oh, November 5th. Okay, that's right. October 4th. So this was before I did all the, let's see, this is 11/5, 11/55. Okay, so this would actually be the most recent one. And yeah, so I got the RT60 on all the channels down below a second, down to about 50 hertz. So I could do a tutorial on this. Yeah, this was like a month later. But the basic gist is that you want to try to get your frequency response really flat and you want to get the decay time down pretty flat because what did I do here? If you have big dips and big spikes, then you're going to like want to adjust things not so great. Make sure when you're doing a graph, like turn the smoothing down so that you can see exactly where the holes are. Like I've got a hole here, but this is like an average, so you kind of want to go back through and just check like which channels, because each channel might be different. You can see there's definitely some valleys, but overall it's pretty flat. Like there's a couple of resonances and stuff, but you want to try to get everything pretty flat so that you can hear clearly, what is going on. And this is fairly flat. Like here, 85 hertz is down, like from the average, maybe 8 decibels. But then like 60 hertz is only down maybe 7. And then there's a little bump at 150, maybe 5 dB. So it's within plus or minus 6 to 8 flat. Um, so that's kind of what you're going for. And you can look up online like how to do that. But the reason that I spent so much time on that is because that is super important. Getting stuff flat, getting your room flat, getting your speakers behaving the way they should, very important to do that. Um, and let's see what else. Other tools. Do you guys want to talk about like special tools, or do you want to talk about general tools? And also in the comments, let me know like specifically dialogue editing, mixing, sound design, um, sound effects editing. I guess I could spend a little bit of time talking about, uh, let's see, Soundly, which I have praised up and down, not sponsored. I just really like the company and kind of like their tool that they've made. There's a couple of maybe not glitches, but like hiccups that I've found. Sometimes the cloud sounds will load full scale pink noise, and it bleeds my eardrums out. But for like local library management is really nice. You can even have network libraries. And then the other cool thing that they have is these AI voices. So I've used this a ton for like temp ADR, or if I just need to throw some, like there's some lip flap on screen and they don't have money for a loop group, I'll just type in what I think the person's saying and chuck it in, bring it way down, like 25 dB down. Generally, it's fine. So I would say Soundly should be, excuse me, in your toolbox as well, especially if you're doing any sound effects editing. But as we know, like if you're mixing, you always get the Haywoods from the director, producer. Even if you're not the sound designer, they'll say, "Oh, could we try a different bird ambience?" Or "I don't like that gunshot." And then, like when I was mixing, I would have to recut sound effects on the fly all the time. Let me just go through the comments real quick and see if there's any questions. Um, Freedom asks, "Do you use Radium SoundMiner?" I have SoundMiner. It's like it's version 4.5, which I think was before Radium. And I switched to Soundly because SoundMiner wasn't as stable for me, tended to crash, and what else? It was expensive, even though I've probably spent more on Soundly now. It just felt more old school, which I can appreciate. Like I still use SoundMiner for dialogue editing. I load all the production roles into SoundMiner and use that to search and find alts and find pieces of room tone and PFX. But yeah, I I guess I could use Soundly for that. I just haven't spent much time using it in that regard. Justin Chow says, perhaps you can share some of your favorite libraries. I really like the Boom libraries are great. They are really nice. The other thing, let me just make sure I don't have any weird furry stuff up in my browser here. I'll show you guys this other place I like to get sounds from. And for whatever reason, um, this website is kind of slow, but it's worth the wait. asoundeffect.com. Great, like for one-off libraries and more boutique stuff. For example, I needed the sound of a, I don't think it was a Ford LTD, but it had the same engine, which was a 5.0 liter, yeah, 302 cubic inch, which is a 5-liter V8 engine. I was working on a show with a hero car, meaning like the main character's car, that had this engine, this transmission in it. And this is from was it Pole Position? So you can obviously go to their website, Pole Position, and get their stuff, but a sound effect is great because like if I need this or if I need very specific sounds, you can just like they're just all right there. And sometimes they have really good sales too. So I've built my library up with my own sounds and different sound libraries that I've bought. And the cool thing about Soundly is it also has like the cloud library, which is really nice. Their sounds are pretty good. Like if I wanted just a face punch, um, the icon with the cloud is all their cloud sounds. So they've got a pretty good selection. And for people who are just starting out, they don't have 2 terabytes of sounds on a hard drive. It's really hard to go wrong with Soundly. There's SoundQ as well, um, but I just prefer Soundly because they kind of add stuff and they got a sense of humor. Their videos they put out are really, really great, really funny. So we'll see if that continues. Um, Other interesting tools, I have demoed. Where is it? This turbine from Boom. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I guess I could play the sound from this. It's gonna be pretty loud. Let me turn this way down. So apologies if this is too loud. Cool. Okay, so you should still be able to hear me. But this is from Boom, and it's pretty cool. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how to do this, but there's supposed to be a way that you can fly the plane around. But maybe. Oh, that's right. That's right. You have to click here. So that's Turbine, or Turbine, I guess if you want to pronounce it that way, by Boom, and it's pretty cool. Um, it's like very specific. You would really only need it if you're doing engine sound design, but the visual, being able to change the angle of the engine and all the characteristics of it and turn parts of it on or off, and then the thrust means you can do it to picture, which is really cool. So there's that. I've also used Igniter. This is by Krotos. So I don't have this bust to you guys, but you can build an engine based on granulars, synthesize, these are just waveforms, one-shots and loops. And then, since we're still talking about sound design stuff, the other one that's really good. So there's Reformer Pro, which you can basically take a envelope from a microphone and create sounds from it. So maybe this one. Actually, I'm not going to do this. But basically, like, you just talk and then it triggers the sounds. And then the other one that's really useful if you have a lot of gunfire is, gosh, what is it called? Weaponizer? That's right, Weaponizer with an S. Because they're European. So yeah, Weaponizer is very cool too. You can build your own weapon sounds, and then they've got different factory presets. And you can see I made a bunch of mine for like different vehicles and punches. You can use it for footsteps, like all kinds of stuff. So yeah, these are kind of like specialized tools that I got because I wanted to be hands-on with sounds. I didn't want to just be a drag and dropper. I wanted to like make stuff. So I was looking for ways to do that with plugins. But you can do that way easier with a microphone. So I would say those are not essential tools. Those are like specialized. If you got the money for it and people are paying you a good rate, maybe get them because it's more fun. But a microphone is way more crucial. Like that's just it. I think having a microphone is as essential as having Pro Tools. I'll put it that way. To record your own voice or different sounds you need in the field or Foley or whatever, you got to have a microphone. It doesn't have to be a large diaphragm condenser. It could be an SM58, SM57. It could be, I've got a Sennheiser MKH60 behind me that I really like. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but get some kind of like short shotgun or large diaphragm condenser and just use it as much as possible. Like even I was working on a documentary and they'll have inserts of people writing. So all I do is I grab a notepad and I grab a pencil and I just watch what they're doing and I do it myself. That takes way less time than painstakingly cutting in individual scrawls from a sound library and going to Soundly and searching for pencil and all that stuff. Or even paper handling. Like just have a bunch of crap in your studio, which all of us do, and just grab it, turn your mic on, record it to picture. It's going to sound 100 times better than cutting it from a library. So microphone is very important. Okay, couple questions here. Neuromoto is Reformer by Krotos essential for sound effects setting? Nope, it's not. Neither is Weapon. None of these are essential. The really only essential thing is you need a sound library and you need Pro Tools. Um, any tools to help hear, see, clicks and pops in dialogue. Experience, and having monitors or headphones. Headphones really help with that because they're right on your ears. So make sure your headphones are flat or even a little bass deficient, meaning they don't have great bass response. Sony MDR 7506s are good for that. Um, these Sennheiser HD280 Pros are good for that. Problem is on all these the headband disintegrates because your head grease. So I just take that off. But it's not comfortable wearing headphones all day. So monitors with good high frequencies, make sure the tweeters are ear level, and then just listen for them. Like it's tough because you have to be locked in, and a lot of us get distracted. And like I know me, when I'm going through a difficult scene, by the end of it, I'm just like, dude, I just want to get through this and move on to the next thing, or be done with work for the day. So taking a break and then coming back, and listening again. Like you just have to comb through stuff and you'll catch more of the clicks. Also listening at different volume levels, which I always say not to do. Sometimes putting your monitors on dim, you'll actually hear more of the clicks because they're not masked by the level of the low frequencies. And then switching back and forth between headphones and monitors, you can get more clicks. Um, Fresh ears, yeah. The other thing you can do is actually EQ your master output to shelve like all the low frequencies off. If you're going for high frequency clicks, then like just put a high pass on and roll it up to like 300 and you should be able to hear them a lot better. EQ boost you could, but are you really going to boost 8K 20 dB when you're mixing? Probably not. Okay, that's probably enough on that. And then Lerv says weaponizer, engine simulation. Yeah, the engine simulation is Igniter. I've been demoing Turbine by Boom just for this one specific thing I'm working on, and it's pretty good. It's like 200 bucks, so it's not super expensive. Any tools to help me find clients as a freelancer? That is really tough, man. Um, it's really about your relationship and word of mouth, how good you are at your job, and what people think of you and the experience they had working with you. So I would say just starting out, try to make sure that you are giving every project 100% of your attention and skill. Once you start getting the ego of like, gosh, this is beneath me. I should be working on Avengers 5, not this tiny indie film. Then your work is going to suffer and you're going to start mailing it in, and people don't like that. Even if they're not paying you great, or the project, the actors didn't do a great job, or whatever the issues are that make it an imperfect production, you still have to give it 100%. And if you're not going to give it 100%, just don't take the job. Give it to somebody who will. Okay. Can you recommend some films that have great sound design? I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Really sorry. Um, some films that have great sound design. Well, there's the standards: Saving Private Ryan, Jurassic Park. Um, I really like No Country for Old Men. It has so little music, and the setting of it, West Texas, which is pretty close to where I grew up. To me, that is like just a pure sound design, excuse me, movie. And it's really driven by a lot of the sounds. So study that one. I'm trying to think of other stuff specifically for sound design. I like minimal stuff, so I would say that is kind of my favorite. Is there a quick way to get out of the pop-up alert mayhem? Excuse me. You should be able to option click error messages or alt click, I think, if you're on PC, and it'll kind of like shotgun through them. Zone of Interest. I think I've been wanting to watch that, but I haven't. Let me think. I can talk about some other tools, I guess. Universal EQ compression. Oh, master mix bus. Yeah, don't do that. Do not do that. Do not ever do that because your stems aren't going to equal your mix. It's not going to happen. Your mix has to equal the composite of your stems. So stems meaning dialogue, sound effects, music, DM&E. So if you bus all that to an aux and then you're like, well, let me just add some bus compression and some limiting and some EQ, this is not a music mix. So no re-recording mixer that I know of does that because your mix will never equal your stems if you do that. And really, all those issues should be dealt with on your stems. They should be dealt with on the dialogue tracks. If stuff is too boomy, got to go back through and EQ it out. Or if it needs less compression or more compression or whatever you're doing, just do it on the tracks. If you have to do it on a bus, do it on the sub master bus, meaning the dialogue bus or music bus. But yeah, there's nothing really to talk about universal EQ compression on a master mix bus because it just doesn't happen. Have you ever worked on an independent film? Sundance Festival kind. So many. If you look at my IMDb, probably 90% of the credits on there are independent projects. Do I approach it differently? No. Yeah, no, it's the same exact approach as working on a bigger budget thing. You want the director's vision to be executed, you want everybody to be happy, and you want to tell the story. So that is important. Maybe they tend to be a little more experimental, the independent films, because there's less cooks in the kitchen. Like you're probably dealing with a director or maybe a director and a producer. So the people sitting behind you, your bosses, are less than like a big studio production or a commercial where there could be like 20 stakeholders that are weighing in on stuff. So the from a personality management and notes perspective, the independent films are a lot easier. They're also more fun because there's less money invested in them. Um, and so they tend to be like a little more laid back. But the approach, the creative approach, is basically the same. Some of the festival films I've worked on have been super experimental. Like, made me rethink what I was doing and like try weird stuff. And that is always really fun. But the cool thing is you can then take those techniques and apply them to bigger budget because on bigger budget projects, um, the directors will appreciate that kind of like idea generation. So basically the same process. I have about 15 more minutes. You can probably hear my voice is given out, so I will soldier through. But at 9 my time, I'm going to sign off and get some tea. Now, what tea should I get? I think I'll do. It's a little too early for caffeinated tea, so maybe I'll do. We got a herb garden, so I'll probably just crush some stuff up. I'll do some spearmint and some chamomile and I don't know, something else. Can you give some advice on quoting for jobs? Yes, that is a great question. Let me share my screen. Oh, this car. I've used that sound so much. Uh, okay. MPEG local 700. Oops, LPEG. I should learn to type. Okay, here's what I would suggest doing is go into editorsguild.com and look at wages and contracts. And then sometimes they'll have the information for this. Let's see what they got. Okay, here we go. Whoops. There's a production list, which is cool. You can see what contracts individual shows have. So just look at this. Look at the editorsguild.com wages and contracts and see what kind of the standard rate is for people. And you can see like re-recording mixer, weekly rate is about $4,000. Daily rate is $865. Not too bad. Let's look at sound editor Z2. That's usually my classification. And oops, that's right. That's right. That looks up all the productions. Weekly rate for a sound editor is 3147.82. So that works out to about 64.77 an hour, plus you get overtime because it's 48.6 hours a week. So yeah, pretty good rates. Daily rate would be like 626. So just for like dialogue editor, Foley editor, all that stuff. This is for independent productions. And then if you look at majors, post-production majors, C2. Actually, it's like re-recording mixer first. Y1. So daily hourly rate for re-recording mixer is 96.21 an hour. Daily rate 865. And then let's just look up sound editor. It is quite a bit less, 518 or 64.78 an hour. Weekly call would be what? Yeah, 3147. So about the same as the independent. But that's kind of like what union labor makes. So take that, and then if you're inexperienced, you're gonna have to start lower than that. I would say try to get no less than $400 to $600 a day, depending on where you are. It's gonna be different in like Pakistan versus the U.S. And I know in the UK even they like I think a full-time re-recording mixer in the UK only makes like 50 grand a year. Of course, that's their funny money, pounds or GBP, whatever it is. But still, like, it's gonna be different. So look up your local union or guild and see kind of what the going rate is. So in the US, I'd say don't do it for less than $400 a day. Try to get 5 or 6, and then just figure out how many days it's gonna take you. Um, yeah. If you're the entire sound department, You probably be on more of like a weekly rate. So try to, if it's 500 bucks a day, that's 2,500 a week. So 4 weeks would be 10 grand. Okay. Lemongrass. I'll probably do lemongrass. We got lemongrass and we got lemon balm. Okay. Lerv says, if an editor give me a guide video of 25 FPS, but the original video is 25 FPS and 50 mixed together, will it affect the AAF file? It shouldn't. Um, if they are doing like a speed, what's it called? It's not very speed. It's like it's a speed conform where they play the 50 in slow motion. It doesn't really matter because the output file is going to be one frame rate. Like a file has to be a certain frame rate, so whatever file they give you will be 25 all the way through. Even if 50 is mixed in, it's just going to look either slow, half speed, or it's going to look really smooth compared to the 25. Shouldn't affect the AAF file. If the audio, however, is 25 FPS and the video's 50 and they didn't slow down the audio, then yeah, it's not going to be in sync. I can't make the sound and video sync together. If you're in Pro Tools, it's probably because your Pro Tools frame rate is not set right. So what you're going to want to do is go into Pro Tools and hit Command 2 and set your session, the time code rate to 25, and then that'll show up here. So check the time code burn in as well. Okay. Milowo says, in South African market, there isn't any regulation for pay. Yeah, I mean, in the US, there's not either on independent stuff. I've worked for peanuts, you know, because I wanted to help out a friend or I was really struggling and I had bills to pay. So you'll find that outside of the union world, it's really just kind of chaos for money. Like the trickiest thing is figuring out how much the production has because nobody wants to shoot first with their offer. They usually say whoever, shoots first loses because that becomes like kind of the high water mark for negotiating or the low water mark. Um, a, one technique you can use is, and this only works half the time, is when you're approached with a project and they are talking with you about doing it and you're trying to figure out like what, to quote them, just ask them how much do you have budgeted for audio post production? And like I said, half the time it works. Half the time they'll say, "Oh, well, we got $5,000 or we got, $5 or whatever." And then half the time they'll say, "Oh, well, we don't know. Can you give us a quote?" Because they're really fishing for like a hot deal. So you can also ask them what their total budget was, or their production budget for shooting. And the audio post production budget will generally range between, for independent stuff, 5% to maybe like 15% of their total budget, sometimes higher, 25%. But like if they said it's a feature film and we spent $250,000 shooting this, then they're probably not going to have more than $25,000 for audio post. They might, but like 10% is kind of, I would say, just start with that. Obviously, if it's a higher budget, they're going to have more money, but they're also not going to be asking somebody who doesn't know how to quote for a quote. They're going to go to a real post house. Let's see. Diamond District Studios is tuning in from Cape Town, South Africa. That's cool. And he switched from music and recording. A lot of us came from that world. And that's why when people say stuff like master bus processing, compression, EQ, like I can tell that person came from music because you just don't do that in film. Oh, can it be based on something practical? Yes. So that's a really good point. What will end up happening is you'll figure out through experience how quickly you can get something done. So for me, I know I can edit dialogue at you know, X amount of minutes of runtime per day. A really good pace for me is like 8 minutes per day. So about a minute per hour for dialogue editing. And I'm talking like real dialogue editing, not batch processing stuff or running it through a bunch of plugins. I'm talking about taking the original tracks and treating them like they're some golden calf that I'm not gonna wanna I don't wanna make this worse. I wanna really massage these and use the tracks and not over process them. I want to do an artistic, nice, solid dialogue edit. 8 minutes a day is about where I can do stuff. Slower if it's like action, and then faster if it's like 5 minute long dialogue scenes between two people. But you'll get a pace in mind of, okay, I can do this many minutes in this many hours, and then like sound effects might be slower, it might be faster. Mixing is a lot faster generally. So then if you're then depending on what you're doing, if you're doing everything for a film, you just add all that time up and say, okay, so dialogue editing is 8 minutes per day. It's an 80-minute movie. That's 10 days if I'm really cooking through it. So that's 10 days. And then sound effects editing might be another 10 days. And then mixing might be like probably another 5 to 10 days. What about Foley? Am I doing Foley? You just add up all that time and figure out your day rate, and then you'll kind of get a number of runtime, basically. Like for an 80-minute film, start to finish is going to take me this long. What do I need to cover expenses, rent or mortgage, food for your family, insurance, taxes, all that stuff? And then you just divide that by the runtime and figure out what your per finished minute rate is. So then if somebody comes at you with, I got a 100-minute film, then you can just off the top of your head be like, 100-minute film, $250 a minute, that's $25,000, or whatever whatever your rate ends up being, you can you can figure out like what that is. Um, Everybody's different. Some people are fast, some people are slow. So just figure out what your pace is for minutes per day, and then divide by how much money you need to make and multiply it by the runtime of the picture. Have you ever done deferred pay for a project? I think I've done it twice. Neither time did I get did I get any money from it. So, yeah. I'd say if you're just starting out and you need credits, go ahead and do it, but otherwise like it's really just a favor at that point. Leo Minig, thank you for joining as a member. That is really appreciated. And we got a couple super chats. Is it wrong to bus compress things? I bus compress my dialogue sometimes. And then I've been asked by composers to do bus compression on music because they had a mastering compressor on their master output. Um, but it's not wrong. Nothing's wrong. You just do what sounds good. Lamlo says, "Thank you for all you've done so far. Hope you feel better." Thanks. I'll feel better. And that was a super chat. So I super appreciate that. I know it's not like much, but it means a ton to me, and um yeah, it's just really appreciated. Even while I'm like getting back to work, and actually doing like real union work again, uh it's just nice to like have you guys be members of the channel and be on my live streams, and I'm going to keep doing them once a week as long as I can. Okay. 8 minutes. We're talking, this is in reference to dialogue editing. 8 minutes per day includes cutting mics, fill, fade, cleaning dialogue, hums, clicks. Yep, all of it. Even finding alts, pulling PFX. I like to pull extra PFX in from uh, from like the production rolls. Like there's a door or a vehicle and like it's MOS and the vehicle goes by. Like I want to find that vehicle sound, at least have something that is a production sound. So yeah, it takes a while to get to that speed, but it's possible. Um, okay, let me look back through and see if I missed any comments. Hmm. I can't make the sound and video sync together. It could be that the AAF was corrupted. I've seen that happen before. Um, let's see. Go ahead and drop some more questions. I've got like a minute or two left, and then I'll sign off. I don't see any other questions that I need to. I think I covered most of this stuff. I don't have multiverb. Oh yeah, reverbs. Yeah, just use the stock in my mix template. I think I have like Phoenix verb still, but I usually swap it out for revive. Just use revive. Revive is great. It sounds fine. People get into like outdoor and cinematic rooms and like Valhalla verb and like all these different things that are just gonna mosquitoes like suck your money out of your account, and spend the time with the tools that come with the program you're paying for, and you don't need any of that stuff. Revive is in every session I mix. It sounds great. It doesn't sound quite as good as like the FabFilter R2 or whatever it is, but meh. It automates well. It serves a purpose. It comes in different flavors from mono to 5.0. Yeah. Couple other questions. Should some of us younger new folks be looking to join MPSC? I don't know. I've sort of looked into it a couple years ago, and I didn't. It didn't seem like for me, because I'm not in LA. It didn't seem like the benefits of joining would be worth it. But you see people with the MPSC at the end of their names all the time. They had like a free, you can join for free period like a year ago. So I feel like they kind of handed out that stuff pretty easily. You need to be sponsored, and I'm sure there's a whole application process, but I would say it's not that important. Are union dialogators doing their own conforms? If you're talking about assemblies, like assembling the location sound to the EDL, generally the stuff I get is already assembled, but conforms like new picture cuts on TV. I've done every conform, every new picture change I've done myself. For feature films, generally if if like when you're on the show, a new picture comes, then you'll be conforming yourself, but if you're off the show, they'll like plug people in. I've actually been plugged in. Like, here's a session, dial get it session. We need you to conform this to a new picture, and then you just do the conform, and then like plug in the gaps. Uh, so yeah, the people who do the assemblies are the assistant dialogue editors, and they're like the frontline soldiers. Like they're the ones who get thrown in the muck and have to figure out how to parse the EDLs and how to get everybody's stuff, and they're juggling all these projects. So they're I always try to be really nice to them because they have so much stuff they're dealing with. And I don't know how they keep it together. Like I couldn't do it because they're on multiple shows. They've got multiple people they got to send stuff to, and they have to like ingest stuff and get it to people. And like, how do you stay sane in that without just, getting drunk every night or smoking weed to like, de-stress from it? I just don't get it. Um, Stratus reverb, yeah, that's fine. Since Pro Tools Ultimate has a field recorder guide track, is it necessary to do post? Uh, it depends. Sometimes you'll get an AAF with all the microphones in it, and you don't need to do the field recorder guide track. But if the production is cutting with a mono guide track, you'll need it. And so I don't think the studio version would work. When are we getting a Thomas Atmos video series? I guess when people pay me to mix in Atmos. I've offered it, and nobody's wanted to pony up. So I'll probably have to learn how to do it first. Uh, okay, this is a good question. I just lost access to my office. I'm working from home and just have a small stereo setup. How do you handle your rate at that point to account for studio time to finish in a stage? Call the mix stage, figure out what their day rate is for you to four wall it. Four walling is the process of I bring in the mix and you give me the room. Probably going to be 1,500 to 2,500 a day to rent a dub stage. So just put that in your quote. Also, any travel time, per diem. Uh, I've been able to get that on a couple productions where like I don't live in LA, so if you guys want me down there, I've either got to drive or fly, and I've got to sleep somewhere, which I've slept in my car down there. That was interesting. But the last mix I did, they paid for my plane ticket, they paid for my hotel, and then we finished the mix early, and the producer actually paid for me to fly back home early. And I was like on cloud nine. That kind of generosity, I was just super thankful for. It's pretty rare, but it happens. So yeah, add all that expense into your rate. People might not want to pay for that, but it's gonna be cheaper than going to a post house and paying all their overhead and everything. Uh, Beto says, I live in Costa Rica. So to you, I say pura vida. I hear the industry is really small. I'm close to graduating college. What are some recommendations you have to insert yourself into such a small market? It's all about relationships. So find the filmmakers, who's doing what, buy them coffee or some spiced rum, or just get in their ear about it and let them know what skills you have and how you can solve a problem for them. Even if it's doing production sound, if the market is that small, get yourself a production sound setup, like a Zoom F6, couple lav mics, boom pole, shotgun mic, headphones. And when I was barely starting out of college in LA, I would do production sound and then ask them like, who do you have for post? And if they had nobody, bam, business card comes out, and uh, I tell them like, hey, I did the production sound, so I'm gonna already kind of know what's going on, and they would often, I would say 75% of the time, hire me to do post production too. So if the industry is really small, you have to be a generalist. You have to do a lot of different things. If the market is big, you can specialize. Now I clean TV serial movie, and there are many dolly metal clicks and micro impacts with broadband reverb and cannot clean them all. I have to send these takes to ADR. Yes, you can look for alts. If the actors are like professional actors and they're used to doing setups, 5 times, 5 takes per setup and consistently delivering their lines, then you can steal. Maybe some of the takes didn't have a dolly and you can insert those as alts. But yeah, sometimes the production sounds too far gone. How do I set shortcuts in RX? Let me do this one for, do you have a NAS that you set up in your studio? I've been looking into that. Um, I have networked hard drives, but I don't have a NAS. I would have to set it up. So my studio is in my backyard. I built a studio. It's small. And then I've got 100 feet of Ethernet cable going to the house, which that's where the router for the internet is, just to keep it out because there's a fan. And anything with fans is going to make noise. So I would have to set the NAS up inside. And I've dealt with those before and they fail. Right now, what I do is I've got a bunch of hard drives and I've got SSDs and I've got a dock, and I just chuck them in the dock and I back up stuff to there, and then I can disperse that out of my studio. But I don't have a NAS. I might. How do I set shortcuts in RX? This will be a nice, easy thing to show. And probably if like I forget who was like, wow, 8 minutes a day is really fast. Well, it is fast, but you can get there by just workflow improvements. So in Izotope, you can see I'm still in 10. Click Preferences, and then go to Keyboard. And this is a little janky. Like sometimes you type in stuff and it doesn't quite show up because they name the process in their code something different than the actual button. But the biggest commands I use are declick and spectral repair and deconstruct. So if I just type declick, then you'll see I have apply declick set as 1 on my keyboard. So all I do for that is hit 1, bam, like that, and that'll declick. So you can do that for any process like spectral repair, replace, or attenuate. I tend to use attenuate more, but replace I have set to 4. And then deconstruct is another one I use. That's set to 5. And then dehum I use 2. And see, that's right, because it's got the dash in between. But it doesn't show up. So this is what I'm talking about. This doesn't make any sense. Show commands using dehum. Okay. Well, I look over here and it's called dehum, right? Yep, dehum with a dash. It won't show me commands. So now if I just type hum, oh, it's actually remove hum. So, yeah. I think that's some BS, but whatever. Everything has its jankiness. Okay. I think we went over. My voice is still sort of holding up. So, let's take like one more question. Let's get a member question, because you guys are really the ones, you're the real heroes. And I can't express my gratitude and thankfulness enough for members, because like if I did the membership thing thinking nobody would really care about it, but enough people have done it where it keeps me doing this stuff. I've tried to send like little thank you gifts out to members. I just sent some sound effects to you guys. I think that post went up. I'll have to check it later. But like coupons on my website and free sound effects that I've recorded, and like member only Q&A questions. I try to do those like once a month. So it's not quite like being in a class. It technically is, because I try to answer every one of the members' questions. But I can't do like individual classes because it takes so much time and I just don't have it. Okay, so all right, we've got top 3 things. Okay, I'll do 2 member questions. How about that? So we'll do Miloo and Micah. Top 3 things to improve speed. Number 1, keyboard shortcuts. Learn all the shortcuts, set up keyboard shortcuts for your keyboard and your fingers, and whatever like process you're doing is 1. Second thing would be organization. Super important. Having stuff organized, and like not hunting for which version is this session and what did I name this, like all that. Put the date and the project name in everything that you do, just so it's easy to find stuff. So keyboard shortcuts, organization, and then the third thing to improve speed is experience. And there's no shortcut for that. So just get out there and do as much work as you can, while still keeping your sanity and your family. If you got a family, it's tough to work all the time. Okay, so and then Micah says, have you ever done post production for audio dramas? Oh, let me think. I did a Spotify original podcast called Son of a Hitman, which was kind of cool. It was basically an audio drama. It was a documentary though. It wasn't really a narrative drama. So I think I've done maybe one in my career that was like a real audio drama, like with voice actors and footsteps and Foley and all that stuff. So it's not really something that I've done a ton of, but I have done podcasts with a lot of sound effects, and it's kind of cool. It like takes the visual element of it away, so you have to be very specific with the sound effects and kind of like treat it more linearly, I guess, like not as much layering. And then I think that's gonna, yeah, that's probably gonna be it for this stream. Hubosonics just joined as a member, so thank you. Make sure you go through the community tab on the channel and like get your free stuff and your coupons and all that. And then check out the members only live streams too, which I'll try to do another one. I'm trying to think when I think I did the last one like 2 weeks ago, so I'll do another one soon. But that's going to wrap it up for this live stream. We talked about tools of the trade, kind of the essential tools, which is Pro Tools, Izotope, monitors, and a tuned room, and then some more specialized tools like the Krotos tools and uh, what else did we talk about that was specialized? A couple other things. But at the very least, get Pro Tools, get Izotope, have a microphone, have some monitors that you can tune, in a room that you can tune, and then just learn to use the tools you have. That's like something that I really, really push on people is don't get caught up in the hype of plugins and buying, like spending all your money. All these companies want something from you. They want your money. And some of them have tools that can make you faster or make your mixes sound better or help you with the workflow thing, but really look at if that is going to happen or if it's just that it's a shiny thing for you to pay for and download. So really do your homework on that. Even do the math on it. Like how many minutes per day will this save me and what's it cost? And is it really going to make me more money? So, yeah, look at that. Just stick with the basics. And I will see you guys next week, probably same time. Tuesday 8 Pacific time seems to work. So, yeah, I will see you guys next week. And if you have any comments or questions or requests for what we talk about, just drop them on this video. And I will try to tailor it to what you guys are asking for. So, have a good week. Get some work done, and I will see you then. Take care.